started out sort of as a true consumer electronic distributor. And then you find that things evolve because, we have customers that have expanded their assortments or expanded their categories, and they're looking for house goods and housewares and sporting goods and other areas. And then you find there's a lot of brands out there that have those type of products that don't know, again, how to get to market or how to reach all these different resellers.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
All right, we are back with another episode of the Business Ninjas podcast with Max Pittman. And I have here Christopher Flaharty. He is the Senior Director of Channel Development at Petra Enterprises. How's it going, Chris? Good to see you again, sir.
Max, great to see you. It's going really well. Busy Tuesday.
Yes. Right. The most productive day of the week, in my opinion.
I hear you.
Well, we appreciate you being here, being a part of this podcast. I'd love to just, love to start this off by letting the audience know who you are. So love to kind of love to understand a little bit about yourself. So feel free to just dive in, tell me a little bit about yourself, and let the audience know who you are.
Sure. I've sort of been on the product side, the consumer side of goods for almost 30 years. And really always was fascinated with, how you build a product from conception to launch, and then, where you take it from that process to make it really excel in the marketplace and build a brand around it, and then obviously take that brand and keep establishing more products as it becomes valid. So,
very cool. And you've been in this industry for how long?
I'd say 30 plus years. I'm getting there. Yeah. Did a lot of different aspects of it, but mainly have spent time from the manufacturing side. So today I'm on the distribution side, but for years I would go in and build brands and take them to a certain level, and then typically move on to the next brand and start that process all over again.
And how did you get started in the industry, right? Like what's your origin story?
Yeah. So I always liked, even though I'm a finance guy, I always liked the interaction of people and sales. And ironically, a friend of mine was starting the touchpad way back in the day. And he called me up and said, "Do you have any interest in coming to work for us and helping to, establish this company called Circ out of Salt Lake City?" And so I went in, we had a lot of fun. We built some retail products. I was able to launch some products into some meaningful retail accounts like Sam's. And back in the day, there was companies called Computer City and CompUSA, et cetera. And we made a really good run with it. And then from there, once you're in the industry, it's a sort of a small network. So you meet a lot of really cool people. And I met one of the leaders over at a company called Targus and ended up taking a position there and working with them for 10 years, really, growing a company and blowing it up. And then it's you're sort of in that industry and you just sort of look for the next opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And that brought you to Petra. Like what's the backstory of Petra? Like how did the company get started? Love to just tell,
I find in this industry a lot of successful brands started sort of in the 80s and evolved, right? And so Bill Stewart started this company in 1985, single product out of his garage, had a really strong retail mind and understood what it took and what some of the pain points maybe were from the resale community. So he just went out and started solving solutions for people, and that one product led to another and another. And next thing you know, fast forward to today, we're a big omni-channel distributor that handles a lot of specialty needs for both the resale community and the vendor community, and sort of tie those together in a collaboration. So it's been a really good story.
Yeah, it sounds like that's where the company really fits in to like solve specific problems. Like what is the main problem that you guys are solving for some of these brands you guys are partnered up with?
Yeah, I think, historically brands are really good at sort of starting out and creating the story of what the brand is and sort of where they want to go with the brand. I want to be in the sunglass business. I want this style of sunglass or whatever. Now, how do I go sell it? What do I do to take my great idea and get it out there? And so, what we do is we look at where those products or brands can be successful and sort of make those connections, right? And so whether it be a product that would really be well suited for a Best Buy or a Staples or an Office Depot or others, we go out and work with that brand partner and those resellers to build a business in those various areas. And obviously, brands that are super universal, there's a lot of places that we can go help, expand their business for them. And then you also think about a brand, while they're good on the brand side, a lot of them don't love the logistical side. You don't go start in business and go, I'm going to be a logistical expert. You start and you build a product you're proud of, and then you go figure out how to make it work. And so we do a lot of back-end logistical works and IT work and everything else that supports the mechanisms needed to lift these brands up.
So definitely like a full suite of services and solutions builds for these organizations. Like, who would you say is, your ideal customer? Is it someone in electronics? You mentioned, sunglasses. I heard, office. Is there a specific industry you guys focus in on, or is there an audience that you guys would focus in on?
So we started out sort of as a true consumer electronic distributor. And then you find that things evolve because, we have customers that have expanded their assortments or expanded their categories, and they're looking for house goods and housewares and sporting goods and other areas. And then you find there's a lot of brands out there that have those type of products that don't know, again, how to get to market or how to reach all these different resellers. And so today we're very, very broad based, and we don't typically say no to any category. We're not really in the food or consumable business as much, but really if it's a, hardline type program, we definitely are interested if it's a valid product that we feel excited about.
Yeah. Interesting. So like is there some front end research that you guys would do prior to that partnership?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, part of it is we have like a new business development person that onboards brands and looks for new exciting brands. So, typical, we'll go to a lot of different trade shows and other things, introduce ourselves, ask a lot of questions, and then brands will look at us and say, do you think you could work with us? And, where do you think we could grow together? And what does it take to do that? Mm-hmm. And some of those things move forward and some don't for various reasons, but it's tended to be a good formula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, going into the trade shows, there's tons of them, right? So like what makes you guys stand out, against the competition? I know you guys have been around for a long time.
Sure.
Just kind of curious.
So even though we're a good sized distributor, we're still a little bit niche, right? And we're still small enough to be able to cater to some of the special needs of brands and look at ways that we can help them. Maybe that some larger competitors just can't afford to do at this point in time. And they're very structured, and here's how you come in and onboard, do things. And we tend to be able to sort of roll up our sleeves and get involved with the brands really to make a difference. And I think that's really our competitive advantage today.
Mm-hmm. And like, how was COVID for you guys? Right. I feel like, was that a time where you guys grew, or like, how did that affect the organization?
Yeah. So, most people in the distribution business never went out of business, and were needed more than ever. Right. And especially if you could drop ship to end users. Right. So, COVID was a huge year for Petra, as it was most anybody that was, in the business and relevant. And certainly if you had PPE, you magnify that business, to a greater extent. And so we did have some partnerships there where we were able to move some PPE and make some good numbers in those areas. The only thing that happened was there were some businesses that, due to their focus on PPE, shut down some normal channels. So Amazon was one of them. And I saw that, and along with other brands, where they might have bought a lot in January and February of that year, but then slowed things down from February through like May, and then started back up again. And but despite that, the top line number for most people was really, really good.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so like, now we're in 2023, starting a new fiscal year. Like, what would you say is, the company's focus, for this year? What's something that you guys would, want to be, celebrating a year from now in February 2024?
Yeah. I think looking at some of our top brand partnerships and just making sure we're maximizing that business relationship to the level that we can, and understanding how we can really find new avenues of business for them is one of them. And at the same time, take it the other way. Let's go out to our major reseller partners and get to know them better and ask questions about, what are their pain points and what are their goals and what are their challenges, and how can Petra help solve some of those for you to make your life easier? I think it's a sort of a two-way street, and really along that whole food chain, it's a win-win-win. How do you win, for the reseller? How do you win with your vendor, and how do you make that all match in the middle? Right?
Mhm. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of marketing that's going to be going and being involved in this, and a little bit. Can you tell me, I guess, a little bit about maybe the marketing strategy for educating prospective customers when you're going to these trade shows? Love to understand a little bit about that.
Yeah. I'm going to take a little side detour on it. And the side detour really is when you're looking at online business. One of the biggest challenges of online business is getting valid traffic, right? And so how do you go establish traffic to close business? And so that's one of the big things we spend time on, is understanding, if we take a responsibility to grow a brand's marketplace business, how can we go out and not only do all the right things on the content side and the visual side and the A+ and all that, but how do we back it up with the tools that drive traffic? And so we spent a lot of investment and time on that process as well. I think when we go to trade shows and try to market ourselves, it's really, again, asking questions of the brand of, what do you feel you're doing well? What's easy for you guys? And then what's difficult? And if we can tackle some of those difficult things for our brands, then I think that's where we bring the value to the relationship and make a difference, right?
Mm-hmm. What about like your experience, or think about your current partnerships with existing customers? Like, how are you engaging them? How are you keeping those relationships going?
So yeah, obviously we have teams of people that do that at various levels, right? You have some people from the sales side that need to be in touch with their resellers and understanding and talking and engaging them and making sure things are smooth and rolling the way they need to. I think there's vendor business managers that need to be working with the vendors and keeping current with what's going on there, and having a healthy back and forth challenge with them to make sure we're doing the proper thing. We lived through a period of time where container costs got out of whack, and a number of things caused an increase in the cost of doing business in the United States, along with tariffs and a few others. And that was unhealthy for our business, and it was unhealthy for our resellers, and was something that we start to see that we're getting to the end of the line there, which is good, but price increases and some of those dynamics really hurt the industry, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine being in your shoes when hearing about these tariffs coming down from the government. I'm sure it was never a fun conversation, but it's good to hear that like things are starting to get a little bit semi back to normal. It's just been a crazy couple of years. And, as you guys are, exploring different, trade shows and conferences, like where are people going to find Petra? Like how can people find you? Where are you guys going to be? Love to just let our audiences know like where people can see you guys.
Sure. I mean, we typically go to the major shows like CES, Housewares. We were at the hardware show last week in Vegas. On the e-commerce or the marketplace team, we're going to be at some events coming up. So we just pick and choose events where we feel we can have intriguing conversations. Look, we're always out there trying to learn too, right? So we go to some industry events where we can sit and listen and collaborate with others on best practices in e-commerce and best practices in handling Amazon, and what's going on in the world of Walmart as far as Walmart 3P and WFS and some of those. And so yeah, I think it's really just getting out there and connecting with all the people we know in the industry, and making it known that we're here to serve others, and if you have some needs, let's talk.
Yeah. So all the brands out there that need to get in front of retailers, that's where Petra can really help. So I appreciate you taking some time out of your day with me, Chris, and doing this with us. Hopefully you thought it was a good experience, and hopefully people can find Petra online when they're researching who they can partner up with, and hopefully you guys are your first thought that comes to mind. So appreciate your time today. Again, Chris is the Senior Director of Channel Development at Petra. We appreciate you being here, and have a good rest of the day, okay?
Thanks, Max. Appreciate your time.